Hi everybody, you're through to Andy Blithe Talks, and in our second episode we're going to have a chat with a gentleman called Lee. He's recently joined the Old Buggers Club, of which I've already been a member for a few years now. Anyway, let's bring Lee on and we'll explain what the Old Buggers Club is in a minute. How you doing, Lee? All right?
Feeling quite old buggerish, yeah.
Yeah, what is the Old Buggers Club then?
Well, I'm assuming you're referring to my age, hitting the grand old age of 50.
Yes, I am, yeah.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be 50?
Uh, well, I've still got a 12-year-old sense of humour, which is always good, I suppose, in most modern men. Uh, yeah, no, good. My knees feel about 90 and my back's about 86, but other than that, it's all great.
Well, I can always use my dad joke here. I can always say I was 50 when I was your age.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really bad, isn't it? Really bad. Anyway, we've brought you on today to chat to you about acting, haven't we?
Indeed, yeah.
You are just let the audience know what you sort of do as a job, shall we say now, that pays the bills. What do you do as a job now?
Okay, yes, I'm a cop. I have been for nearly 25 years now, so that pays the bill, so to speak. Yeah, and provides me with a lifestyle that I've got at home. Um, but by being a cop, it allows me to be quite selective with the acting roles that I choose now. So yeah, that's my day-to-day job essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, whether the audience knows or not, I was a police officer myself, so I can relate to sort of some of the journey that you're going to explain about. So,
Mhm.
you, I mean, part of today really was to chat about what it's like, or I know we spoke before we start recording. You mentioned about whether it's too late to do something, and obviously you started in the acting process about 40, was it?
No, I was a bit later than that actually, mate. I was 46, so it's coming up 4 years ago now.
Okay,
So
tell me
maybe
about
three and a half. Okay, mate. So yeah, so it's something I've always wanted to do. It's something I know. It's one of those things that you sort of knew I was half decent at, but I needed somebody, who knew what they were talking about to verify whether I was shit, whether I was good, essentially. So I sort of have my head in the clouds, thinking about it for years. In the police, I used to speak to a lot of people with different accents, always act different characters, that sort of stuff, doing it respectfully, of course. And you used to get lots of comments saying, "Lee, you should be born for the stage, shouldn't be doing this. You can turn your head at anything," well, that sort of stuff. But the moment of clarity sort of occurred when my dad, God rest his soul, was dying. Essentially, I don't want to sound macabre and all negative, but he just said to me, he said, when you're going to start having a look at the acting side of things, just go for it. Just what you got to be afraid of. You're a confident lad. So that's what led me to. I was looking at a potential musical theatre, and I know there's somebody who lives close to me who's a director of a theatre company. So I was readying myself at the ripe old age of 46 and a half, thinking, I'm too old for this shit. I'm not sure if I'm going to get in. I think life's been good to me a little bit in terms of the way I look, so I don't look weathered yet, but I'm sure that will come overnight, I expect, and it'll hit me like a ton of bricks. But yeah, so I was readying myself to go for a bit of a singing audition. I haven't really got that good a voice, but I can hold a little bit of a note. It's not great. So I thought, yeah, what's my favourite show in the West End? It's Les Mis. I adore Les Mis, and I love the role of Thénardier. I thought, yeah, I could sing a bit in Master of the House. So as I was sort of going through that, I then stumbled across a local theatre company in Brixham that don't do musical. It's just pure theatre. And oddly enough, they were having rehearsals for Les Mis. I thought this is fantastic. So yeah, I say I was nervous. Was I nervous? Probably a little bit, only purely for the fact of to see what they would say in terms of you're good, you're shit, off you go, that sort of thing. So I went to audition. There's a lot of people there. I think there's 4 or 5 people on the panel. It's like something I've not really experienced before, other than when I was looking at leaving the police early doors in my career to maybe go back to college and study theatre and acting and theatre studies, I think it was, at South Devon College. So yeah, I looked at it, and I'd had the sides sent to me. So I was looking at the Thénardier sides, and I did Jean Valjean, and yeah, luckily I got through and I got the part I wanted. So a lot of thanks, and I will always go out to Laura from the South Devon Players for giving me this opportunity. So she never turned around and said I was shit. So so the rest is history, really. So that was a platform of which I I based my contacts on, and I met my agent, my now agent, actually on the tour as well, the tour of Les Mis. So, and then we sort of I've built acting friendships from there. But thankfully, I wasn't too old to start.
Yeah, I was probably similar age to yourself when I sort of got involved in things like that. So yeah, I can relate to that. About 45, 46, I would say.
Hmm.
So your first thing was really doing a bit of Amdram, yeah, locally, yeah.
It was called profit share. So you got paid for it. So I was thinking, oh my god, actually getting paid for this. It's okay. You're not going to be able to set the world alight with it, but it's payment nonetheless. But it's very serious. I found it was quite difficult at first to grasp. There's a lot of commitment. I've got my full-time job, and then I do overtime within the job as well. Plus this, which is my passion. I was rehearsing twice a week, going from my house to Brixton, which was a bit of a journey, 4 times a week, and it was quite labor intensive getting those, doing those rehearsals all the time. And then when it comes to performance days, yeah, it was a lot to take on. And I'm sort of more, or say, I'm more reticent now to do theatre work as it stands, because I just don't have that time. Whereas film work, sorry, is less impactful, I think.
So when did you, what was the first film sort of role you did?
Okay, so the first film I actually filmed, I went for an audition in Ashburton with a guy called Steve Moles, who's a local director who's managed to direct quite a number of decent short films. Got a good quality production company, and it's for a film called Getting Comfortable. And I played a chap called Scott, who was a parcel guy, and I come in at the end of the film. It's a 20-minute film, I think. The last 3 or 4 minutes of my dialogue is the last dialogue in the film, but what I do say solidifies the whole message of the film. So it was quite a decent part to have. Uh, but my first film that came out was a feature film called Lady What's Tomorrow. And again, I've got a lot of love and praise and thanks to Solomon Bowden, who was the young director. He was 19 at the time. He's 22 now, I think he is 21. Directed that. That was down in Cornwall. That came out first before Getting Comfortable, but it was the second film I'd filmed, if that makes sense. But the first one to come out, yeah, we got an invite down to Penzance, bit of a trek. And a good friend of mine, Lee Cayley from he's up at Ipswich way. He's another actor. He came down to support me all the way from Ipswich, and we stayed at a travel lodge together. Went down, saw the film, and it was attended by a local BAFTA award-winning director called Mark Jenkin, the guy who filmed a film called Bait in 2019. So it was like, I'm in awe of this chap here. This guy is the real deal, proper director. I'm not saying Solly wasn't, but this guy was like another couple of levels above, and Solly was quite in awe of him as well. And it's nice to chat to him. Yeah, and he had some wonderful things to say to me afterwards. And he thanked me for respecting the Cornish accent, for maintaining that the longevity of the accent throughout the entirety of the film. He says a lot of people can, mix that with a bit of Cornish, Devonshire, Bristolian, Wiltshire, and it's a bit of well, just a mishmash, really, isn't it? It's a bit of a mess. Yeah. But he said you've stayed true to the accent. He said I can't thank you enough, and that was quite impactful, really, to meet someone like that. He's seen a film, and it was quite surreal. Sat down watching it in the cinema with the first film I've ever watched with myself in it. It was a proud moment. So I was proud of what I did. But yeah, it was good fun. It was really good fun.
How long was that film?
It's a runtime of 60 minutes.
Right.
I think it initially started out as a short, but he had something. The story is a beautiful story. It's very well written by Solomon, and yeah, it ended up sort of going into a 60-minute film. But I'm in it for the first 21 minutes. Essentially, I get pissed at a bar, which is good fun.
So for you, what's the difference in terms of acting in theatre to acting on screen? What do you think the sort of main differences are?
I suppose the classic is you can't really make a mistake, and it depends how you style it out, doesn't it? I mean, I care when I did Les Mis, you make a few mistakes, but it's how you style it out. If the audience is none the wiser, it's a success. If you can still tell that story, because after all, that's what we do. We tell stories, don't we? We're telling the story in the way that the director and the writer would like that story to be told. And whereas film, I think it's far more forgiving, isn't it? Because you can take, you can stop, you can redo it, as we know, because you and I have done that before. But in theatre, yeah, and it was. I found it. To be fair, I thought I'd be nervous, but I wasn't. I just adored it. It's like, this is my turn. It sounds quite selfish, but this is about me at that time when I was on the stage when other characters were on it. And I found that it's and having to learn essentially the whole dialogue of the whole play, having to learn techniques for that. Whereas with film work, as you know, Andy, it's you can almost learn it scene by scene, can't you? Essentially, if you want to, depends what kind of character you're portraying. If you want to get really into it, you can do otherwise. But I had to work towards what time I had with my full time job. But having to learn that entire script, which is it was a 90-page script, was it was challenging, but it was good fun. I really enjoyed it, really did.
So what techniques do you use for that? Because that'd be interesting to know. Well, I've done a couple of
I
things, but yeah.
Well, I've learned a lot. I mean, I've done about 2.5 years of acting training online, so I've learned some techniques there. But I did lots of research when I first started. I mean, I was on the computer. I do my day job, and I'd be on the computer for 4 hours a day, researching, watching videos, researching, writing notes down, collecting evidence, so to speak, of how to sort of try and develop the craft and try and put my slant on it, really, because I don't want to sit down and read, Sanford Meisner book or a Stanislavski book and just mimic their techniques, because I don't necessarily agree with method acting. I don't like it. I'm more of a Jeff Seymour kind of guy that lives in the real world, if you know what I mean. So it's real life acting, because we're telling the story, aren't we, of real life as if it's happening for the first time. So I've lost my train of thought. I did ramble on. Sorry, mate. What
Yeah.
did you say?
I was saying about how do you find learning your lines? What sort of techniques do you?
Yeah. So there was a technique I still use, and I've got other scripts here which I'm working through, which I will use this technique. It's essentially when I read a script 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times, and then I tend to write down literally verbatim my character. And I don't write down the whole script; that'd be ludicrous. But I write down my character, so then it sort of it solidifies it into your head to a degree, or my head anyway. So it's not difficult for it to be lost out of my brain, I tell you. But and then once I've done that, I then read it again, and then once that I'm satisfied with that, then I start looking at it, and then it's very simple. I think it's a process which a lot of people have started to use now, where you replace each word with the first letter of that word. So Lee Metherall and Andy Blythe would be LBAAB. It's very simple. Then you look at it, and sometimes at the end of that word, I might write that whole word. So then it sort of clicks into my brain, like, oh, that's what that phrase is, because or that line is, and that's worked. And I've done the research on it, and some of the experts aren't really aware why it does work and why it sort of sticks in people's brains and allows you to recite that dialogue to a degree. So it works for me. It might not work for everyone else, but
Yeah, I've the one where you use the letter for the start of the word. I've done that myself, so
yeah.
can be quite useful, I think. Just repeat, repeat, repeat.
Yeah, you're right, mate. A lot of it is repetition. But the more you get into the character, the more then you can improv, then, can't you? Because once you've got really into the basis of the character, then and the phrases are flowing, and your lines are flowing, then you can then sort of try and recite what you would feel like in real life, and then with obviously the direction from the director, you can hopefully let it flow with some improv. Not all the time. You can't improv every line because that would be ridiculous. But that technique certainly works for me.
Do you find that sometimes you learn the lines, they're in your head, but then when you get onto set or you're in a different environment, your brain goes, hang on a minute, I'm not used to this. I need to just do those lines a few times first.
Yeah, I mean that happens all the time, and I think a real sort of, I suppose, a good technique is to learn your lines on the fly in different parts of the house. So I think a lot of people suggest try and playing cards when you're reciting your lines, because your brain's concentrating on something tangible, and then you've got that. If you can recite them when you're doing that, then I think they're pretty much solidified in your head. But yeah, I tend to try and move around the house. I do it at work. I used to have my children help me out, but they don't like doing it anymore. So my son does sort of film me a little bit, but if I'm doing self tapes, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think working in different areas of the house, or different areas, even if you go out in your car, different environments, even if you're in your car and you do it like a different route a day, I think it does help.
Yeah, I quite often do it in the car, learn the lines in the car.
That was the biggest stigma for me. That was the one question, Andy, I kept asking everybody I spoke to, and they must have got cheesed off me asking the same question. How do you learn your lines? How do you learn this amount of lines? And I can remember the film Lady What's Tomorrow. A lovely friend of mine, Nick DeJasse, who you know well, who played Arthur. I auditioned with Nick for Les Mis, so we started our journey at the same time, albeit we're 10 years apart. I'm 10 years older than Nick.
Mm.
I looked at his part, and it was the enormity of the dialogue it almost frightened me, because I thought, I can't learn that dialogue whilst full time. I don't think that, whether Nick was full time, I don't know, but I couldn't do that full time working. Plus the dialogue was immense, so it's just trying to make it work, isn't it? But I'm more confident now doing more dialogue, because I'm 4 years in now. It's nearly 4 years in, so I'm more confident with it.
I think confidence is quite a big issue with it. Sometimes you tell
Mm.
yourself that you're struggling to learn those lines, and it's just yourself telling you that
Yeah, it
that.
is. And once that mindset's there, you can't shake it off, mate. You're absolutely right. It's going into. I think what helps, if you've got a stuffy, fastidious director, that can, and you're new to this environment, it can be quite hard. You need someone who you get on with and you can relax into it, and then I think the storytelling just evolves, and it's just natural. It's very naturalistic. Rather, if you've got someone who's on you all the time, it makes. I mean, not so much for me now, because of, like I say, experience helps, doesn't it? But when you're getting into it, yeah, it can be quite daunting. I think everyone's watching you. That doesn't really bother me, but some people it does.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's just take you back to
Yeah.
how you started off. Um, what was the sort of the motivation for getting into sort of acting then? Was it always something you wanted to do?
It's a real passion of mine, mate. Yeah, I mean, if I had my time again, that's a terrible cliche. I wish I'd have done that. I wish I'd stuck to studying theatre at college. Although I'm a big advocate now, you don't really need a theatre degree to be successful in this business or to enjoy it. Not success can be measured in so many ways. It doesn't have to be about money or finance. It can just be about enjoying it and doing a good job, telling truthful stories. It's something I always wanted to do, but you know, stupidly or not, I joined the police all those years ago, and yeah, it's provided me a decent lifestyle. As you know, it is what it is, isn't it? But something that, like I said, my dad said something profound. He said, in his accent, if I may, in his Devon accent, when you're a running, you'll sort this bloody acting bollocks out, and that's exactly what he said to me, and I'll never forget it. And
Yeah.
that's always, and I sort of recite that every time, and that's what he said. And I just only wish he was around to see me. That would have been lovely to see me certainly do the theatre show. He wasn't. He sadly passed away, but yeah, that was tough. That was tough. But yeah, no, my motivation, I've always wanted to do it. And like I said to you earlier on, I just needed somebody to tell me, Lee, you're shit. Go off and do something else. Keep being a cop. Or you've got something here, mate. Let's roll with this. And the latter happened rather than the former. So yeah, here I am.
Do you have any particular roles that you like, or?
I'm still keen on getting experience. I'm very passionate about linking up and networking with local people to the southwest, because I think we're almost forgotten about down here, aren't we?
Mm.
Although I can travel, I do a lot of role playing, professional role playing acting with Peel role play as well, with all the universities of Plymouth and Exeter. So I get about and meet more contacts there. So I'm building up my sort of my contact list of different actors and filmmakers. Um, but it can be tough down here, as you know. I think you have to be a bit more transient, don't you, to get yourself about a bit and be more mobile.
Yeah, obviously we're not close to many large cities, are we? Really, the sort of the largest city really is Bristol. I know Exeter's a
Yeah,
city, Plymouth's a city, but in terms of
yeah,
anything going on, probably Bristol's probably the closest. Would you say?
yeah, yeah. I would say so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and then really talking London, which is what, 3 hours?
I'd say if you're driving, yeah, it's 3 hours. It's 4 hours probably in a car, isn't it? So I've
Hmm.
had a couple of jobs in London, which I'm probably still waiting to hear. I know I've got the roles, but I've not heard anything else. I've signed NCAs or not, or is it non? So no, it's yeah,
NDA.
disclosure agreements. NDA, sorry, yeah. I've signed those, but nothing's happened with it. But I would be prepared to travel. Uh, it's just about getting experience, really, isn't it? That's I like it. In terms of my acting style, to be fair, I'm not quite sure yet. I've done so. Lady What's Tomorrow is a comedic role for me. I'm Tom. I'm the main character, Arthur's best friend. Uh, the role in Getting Comfortable was just a short role. I wrapped on a horror feature called The Medusa Box, which I'm really looking forward to. That's coming out next year. That looks like it's going to be a cracking film. It's based on letterboxing within Dartmoor, and I play a character called Dario, who's a bit of a piss taker from London. He's a cabbie, So he's come down to the West Country, not really grasping the whole letterboxing effect, the way he dresses and the way he is. I'm obviously doing some bits with yourself later on this year, which really sort of some comedic roles, some others are quite serious roles. So a mixed bag, really. So I don't. What's my acting style? I'm not sure if you can tell after 3.5 years. I'm not sure if you can. Maybe you can, but I'm still trying to find out what I do best, I suppose.
It's the acting style, but what sort of, do you have a sort of favourite roles you like playing? I mean, I quite like playing someone that's quite bad. Playing a
Yeah,
bad.
I could. I think for myself, I could really turn my skills at something like a psychotic role. I could do that. That's always something I was told I could do really, really well. Um, Again, but I get all the time that I'm funny. I'm really funny, but would I go up and do stand up? No, that would petrify me doing stand up. But I can be funny. I can really so comedy and maybe some psychotic roles is what I really enjoy doing. Yeah.
And in my experience, I don't know whether you've come across this, but obviously people start off, you take, you do acting roles or whatever, small student films or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
unpaid, a lot of unpaid or whatever. Where do you sit in terms of that? Be interesting to know because I know where I sit,
In
but
terms of payment,
in terms of payment of roles,
uh, I mean, most local roles to the southwest are unpaid. Uh, for me personally, I'm happy to do those because it's supporting the local film network down here. One thing that I don't want to do is be out of pocket for anything. I mean, if my traveling expenses are paid for, a bit of food, that's fine. I don't ever want to be out of pocket, paying to go and be on a project, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense. But if you're involved in the project, then yeah, I don't mind. It's like a project you and I are sort of come together with later this year. I don't mind purchasing items like that and making the project become something quite watchable, I suppose is the best way to describing it. But no, I mean, I've been paid for some films, yeah, and some I haven't, and some I wasn't supposed to, and some I've got like gesture payments, which was like, oh bloody hell, cheers for that. That's quite nice. Um, so yeah, and there was it's not to be confused as well with SA work, which is like support an actor role or extras, as they used to call it. I got stung with that as well. So if anybody wants to get into it, there are some agencies out there that don't really utilize the correct terminology in terms of how they want to hire you. I made it quite clear, crystal clear, so I can converse quite well that I didn't want any SA work, and I was given a project locally which involved some A-list actors. I thought, oh, this is fantastic for me. Great, great experience. Be it a small role, that's fine. And I got sent this. I got sent the what's it called? The list. I can't think what it's called now, but the
bullshit.
list of the call sheet. Sorry, and it was like a spider graph, like nothing I've seen before. It was enormous. It was literally over 3 pages. This spider graph call sheet, and I thought, oh, there I am with this A-list actor. Yeah, great. We're in 7 scenes together. Fantastic. So, yeah, I then sort of spoke to the agent. It's not my agent, but it was an agent from another company, and said, so what day rate are we looking at? Equity day rates and stuff. How much do you pay mileage? Nah, you're on X amount an hour. And I said, I'm sorry. And this was like, it was 5 hours before I was due to travel down to South Cornwall. So it's a bit of a trek. So I was supposed to have left in the morning at something like 3:30 to get on set for 7:30 call on set. And I said, oh, I'm not doing it. Oh, you can't pull out now. I said, well, you need to be transparent with people. You've told me 5 hours before I'm about to leave, and you signed up for this probably 2 months ago, and at no point you thought you'd clarify with me. So that's one thing I'd say to anybody that's looking at getting into it. Just make sure you're clear and they're clear on your instructions, what you do and you don't want to do. So I turned that project down because I didn't want to pay. I just didn't want to be made a mug of, really, if that makes sense.
I presume that was just SA rate of about 140 quid or something for the day.
12 quid an hour.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a 12-hour shoot, so it would have probably ended up about that anyway. Yeah, but but they wouldn't pay me any transport. They wouldn't feed me. Something that I'm not interested.
Yeah, sometimes there can be some confusion, can't there, between
Yeah,
what the role is or SA roles and but quite often SA agencies are being used for small roles on films quite a lot now.
yeah, yeah. They are. Yeah, a friend of mine, he's had some a lot of success with this specific company. But also as well, you find a lot, don't you? Certainly on Facebook, find a lot of casting calls, unpaid, unpaid, unpaid. And I understand, if they have or haven't, they should have a budget from a film school. It's certainly, if it's a film school, you will have a budget to a degree. And I understand, actors have commitments. They can't be given their time for free all the time, nor should they. But ultimately, it's down to the actor, isn't it, whether or not they want to commit themselves to that project.
I think that's very much the case, because some people get really and say, "Oh, then why haven't you got a budget for this film? Why haven't you got this? Why haven't you got that?" And unless they've ever made a film, they don't realise sometimes how much work goes into it. And
Yeah,
for me, I don't know how you feel, but for me, if someone's putting a lot of effort into something, quite clearly it's going to be a good project, and through no fault of their own, they can't afford to put any money in, or B, they can't get any money because they're not known, or whatever the case may be. Then it's better that the film is made on no budget or a shoestring than not made at all, I feel, because at least then people are given the opportunity to hone their skills or whatever. They've got the choice
yeah.
whether they actually say, yes, I'm going to do it for nothing, or no, I'm sorry, I'm not interested.
Mm. I mean, even if you come away with it with some showreel material, I think that's really valuable because, as you know, showreel material is what a lot of cast directors want to see. I certainly with Lady What's Tomorrow, I didn't take any payment at all from that, and it was a young director, and we were all sort of feeding into his passion, and we all delivered. We all did really well. I mean, Nick was phenomenal, and from the cameraman Justin and Solly, they were very respectful and very knowledgeable, and it was a wonderful project to be part of. It didn't bother me that I wasn't getting paid for it. It's a great film, and that like I said before, being involved in the Southwest, trying to you know maintain contacts and supporting each other, essentially supporting each other down here, I think it's really important. But you do find those cliques, don't you? You do find that nepotism creeps in, whether it's for good or for bad. I know nepotism happens out in Hollywood. I understand that. I respect it. But sometimes it's not always a good thing.
Yeah, I suppose that people work with people, and
Mm.
it's people business, isn't it? And you need to rely on people.
Of course, absolutely, and that's not lost me. If you're a filmmaker as yourself and you trust somebody, then yeah, absolutely. I've got no dramas with that at all. I think it's quite good because you're trusted. They're going to perform. They're going to give you a good product at the end of the day, aren't they? You're going to get you're going to get good acting from them, so to speak, and you're going to get good products at the end of it. So yeah, I understand that.
Okay. Just going back to the police, how has that helped you, think, as being an actor?
Uh, as you know, over a long period of time, I've met some really interesting characters. I manage quite colourful characters now, coming out of prison. Uh, Very chaotic in their very nature. I also used to be covert about 10 years ago, dealing with the quite high profile criminals a long time ago. So what this enables me to do is reach into a rich tapestry of characters for character prep. And I can use so many different characters I've met in my life as a cop to help with some of those characters. Yeah, and certainly a project that I'm going to be working with you on later this year. It's, I'm one of the leads with yourself, and certainly the character there is of somebody. I was actually chatting to him last week, and I was chatting to him, explaining that he knew what I do outside of the police, and he's quite respectful. And I said, I've based my character largely on you, mate, because of the characteristics you display, and it's everything that the writer wants. So yeah, I've got him in my forefront. Sorry, yeah, the forefront of my mind when I'm looking at delivering some of those performances. So yeah, I think it's enabled you. Communication as well is another thing. Obviously, as you know, in the police, most of what we do is communication, and I certainly that doesn't bother me about being on stage or in front of an audience speaking. I used to do it as a local police officer, as a local schools officer. Sorry, I used to speak in front of hundreds of people. A lot of cops didn't like it. There were some of us that did. I used to enjoy it. It's almost like a bit pantomime, especially when you're dealing with children as well. It's a bit of pantomime, but yeah, those sort of things. The confidence, the communication, certainly the character prep with all the individuals that I've met. All not all bad, some good as well. Some funny. Uh, so yeah, they're all locked away in the back of my head, and I'll release them sort of in a drip effect if I need to.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that again, for me, it, having been a police officer, and you had to wear different hats quite often. So
Yeah.
sometimes you had to change your character, not necessarily, you still treat people in a fair way, but sometimes it's change your character depending on who you're dealing with. So when you act, you have to change your character, don't you? And that,
Yeah, and the phrase they use, in the police is, adjusting your communication style to suit the needs of your audience. So you could be speaking to somebody who's a street attached drug user 1 minute, and then you could be talking to a high court judge the next, or a consultant doctor. Then you go back to your shoplifter, or that you could be speaking to an abused female or abused male in a coercive relationship. So yeah, you're right. You have to put on many hats, and you have to adjust that communication style to suit the needs of that audience, don't you? Because they don't all converse in the same manner.
yeah, and I don't know if you feel the same, but when you put on a uniform, it's almost like putting on not a mask, but a little bit like that. And when you act again, you're putting on a persona, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm not sure if my uniform would fit me now, but I don't wear one. But I probably won't get into it now. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, you are. Yeah, because you're representing something. Like you're representing the crown, aren't you? You are a representative of the crown. Because as people know or may not know, we're not employees. We're servants of the crown. So like employment law doesn't really apply to us. It's other things. But yeah, you put that uniform on, and you have a certain standard to uphold, don't you? Um, whether that's respected or not amongst society is open for debate on probably another podcast somewhere else in the world. I don't know.
Yeah, not on this one. No.
Absolutely not. No, and I don't want to get drawn into that.
Okay. Right. So that's your acting. Have you ever done any behind the scenes stuff, any crew stuff at all?
In all short answer, no. No, I haven't. No, not really. I was always, just intent on just acting. That's all I wanted to do. But then this bloke I met on Facebook has decided to meet him in Marks and Spencers. I don't know if you remember that,
Yeah.
about formulating a just a bit of a network, a bit of network locally, and then when this project came up, the one that you and I are working on, it's like, okay, I've no idea about production, but I'm willing to learn. And I think the more strings, like you've said before, you have to your bow, the more attractive you are as a proposition for a cast director to employ or to utilise. Yeah, it's just having that knowledge as well, isn't it?
I think so. I think just potentially it can make you a better actor or have a better understanding of what
Absolutely.
the different disciplines need within the filming process if you know what their role is.
Absolutely, and even like something like the Medusa box I did, and you had Jamie, who was the DOP, or director of photography, or the camera person. You've got him, you've got runners that work for him, looking at his screen, and I didn't have a clue what this screen was. And there's so much involved in when they're shading it out in the background as well, aren't they? They're they're applying all sort of lighting effects at the back, and the sound guys with the long boom microphone. There's lots of people involved, and it has to be perfection. I didn't realise as well how time centric filmmaking is at the time. It's very important not to waste time, isn't it? As you know.
It is, but it's probably one of the hardest things in terms of filmmaking
Yeah.
is you are always against the clock.
Yeah.
Especially when it's independent, no budget, low budget, you are against the clock.
Mm.
It depends what you are, obviously, but if someone's letting you make use of their location, or you've got a problem with light or whatever, then yeah, you're against it. You really are against it. I mean, it's the same on big budgets. The biggest thing they're against is the clock because of the costs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I found that the little project you and I did, that was a real eye opener. Where we turned it around, or you turned it around quite quickly, but it was good fun. And of course, sometimes like that, you're against the elements as well, aren't you? And thankfully, it didn't rain for us. It was quite a clear night. Um, yeah.
Okay, so how do you feel now about like you're 50, you're doing acting?
To remind me, don't you keep reminding me I'm 50?
Keep reminding you, yeah. So how about that now? Has your mindset changed to what it was 4 or 5 years ago?
I'm more determined to do more. I mean, ultimately, I'd love to leave the police and do this full time, but sadly, that's not reality because I get paid a good wage in the police, and I've got a mortgage to pay. I've got a wife and children as well, so I have to support them. But I absolutely adore working in films. I love acting. I'm always learning. You can always change, always learn, keep learning and keep learning. That's the main thing to do. Even if it's just sitting down and reading another book or just reading an article online or having a look at some YouTube videos, anything like that, as long as you're learning. But as I'm getting towards the end of my police career, I've only got 5 years till I retire. I'm not wishing my life away, but I wish that would come to an end so I can do more with this. But I'm not going to wish my life away, I'm just going to enjoy what I'm doing. And what it does, it enables me, like I said at the start of this podcast, is it enables me to be selective in terms of what projects I look at, because I'm sort of trying to tailor it around my working environment as well. But I've got more experience. I don't know how many films I've done now. Maybe 4 films, is it? 4 or 5 I've got, and I've got these 3 projects in the pipeline. I've received another script today, which I've read through. I did casting in an old Coward play for next year, but I declined that purely because it's just too impactful on your working day, as I said about when I did Les Mis. So I didn't want to have that sort of that to try and obviously when I'm doing that for a 3 or 4 month period, I can't do anything else. So no, I've got more knowledge, more experience, but I'm always happy to learn. I've probably learned about 0.5% of what I could learn in acting. So I'm a long way away, but I'm enjoying the ride.
Well, you're never going to know everything, are you?
No, Christ, not at all. No.
And I suppose in some way you're only as good as your last job, aren't you?
Yeah, and what was my last job? It was a film called The Code, wasn't it?
Because obviously, someone says you're only as good as photograph you've taken, you're only as good as, I don't know, your last song you brought out, potentially anyway. Okay, so
and also sorry, Andy, another thing as well is never be afraid of rejection. That's another thing. That's quite key if you're getting into it, because people might think, oh, I'm getting rejected. Yeah, that's part of it. That's probably 90% of it. I know my agent works tirelessly for me, and she puts me forward for lots and lots of things, mainstream TV stuff, and I see it come through on the Tagmin app. I see everything she submits me for, and 95% of it doesn't come through. I did have the one success I had, which wasn't a success, if that makes sense, but it was early on in me doing this, having this acting journey, if you want to use that cliche. Was a Jack Whitehall film on Amazon, and I got through to the last, I think it was the last 2, from what the cast director said. So there was the eventual person who was in the film, who was Daisy May Cooper, and for the best will in the world, I might be funny, but I'm leagues behind that lady. She's amazing. And I did watch the film, and the film was quite funny. In her role, the role I auditioned for, I got some great feedback from the cast director, and that's what you want, really. I think essentially, once you've done your self-tape, your job's done. Then it's in the hands of other people. If you get a gig at the end of it, then fine, it's a bonus. But your job is to perform to the best of your ability, to make it truthful and to tell that story as truthfully as you can in that self-tape, and that's it, isn't it? And that's what I did, and I got some good feedback. But yeah, she was amazing at it. She was a different gravy, if we can use that phrase. So yeah, don't be afraid of rejection. It's going to happen, and it will happen, and it continues to happen.
Oh yeah, I don't think a lot of people realise the processes you have to go through in terms of just to get a job that's not through somebody that you know or whatever, through contact. So through your agent. I don't know. Would you like to explain the sort of processes that you have to go through?
So I suppose, yeah. So your agent, my agent's got all the information on me. So then she, or if it's Baz, he'll apply. Based on that, then you might get a self-tip request via email. So having a setup, that's probably good to talk about. Having a setup. So I was thinking, how am I going to have a setup at home which is cost effective? I don't want to spend thousands of pounds because I can't afford it. So a simple tripod, I think that cost me 20 quid on Amazon. I use my phone, which is just an iPhone. I was contemplating getting a Sony, I think it's a ZV-1 or something like that, and I was told you don't need to.
Yeah,
they're good cameras, but you don't need to spend 800 quid on a camera, whatever the £700. Most iPhones now have got a really good recording capability, so I've used that. So I've got a tripod, that I've got a pop-up screen, which again I think that was 30 quid or 35 quid. It pops up on a stand, so it all folds down. And I've got some. I did have an external Rode mic for my iPhone, but the new iPhones, their microphone is quite good, and there was no benefit of having that little. It was only a little Rode mic attached to it, made no difference. And also I've got some box lights, and they cost me 40 quid on Amazon. So I think I did it all for about 100 quid, roughly there or thereabouts. So having that set up, mine was in this office here, but my wife's having a clear out, so everything's gone up into the loft. So, but it's all accessible. I'll just put my hand inside the loft, I can bring it all down. But it's easy. It takes me 10 minutes to set up. That's part of the ritual. I really enjoy it. Because I'm in game mode then. I start putting everything up, and as I'm doing that, I'm starting to recite the sides I've been given in order to perform that self-tape. So once the self-tape's been received and you send it, you'll send it via normally WeTransfer, but I think they've updated their terms and conditions recently, so I've not really seen if that impacts on what we can do. So certainly on an iPhone, I use iMovie, very easy, very simple. So you can fade in and fade out. You can shorten it and chop and edit it that way, clip it or crop it, whatever terminology you want to use. It's very simple for someone like me who doesn't do that sort of stuff like yourself. I know you're very accomplished at it. I'm not very good at it, but I do it good enough so I can send it off, and then I send that file via WeTransfer to her, and then she'll send it off, and might get a call back. You might get the gig on the strength of that self tape, or you might go through a series of first callback, second callback, and then sometimes you might have to go in person audition. And that's happened a few times for me. Yeah. So, and then even then, you're not guaranteed anything, are you? Because you could be the best actor in the world, but it's all down to a look, isn't it? It's all down to the image that I suppose the cast director, the writer, the director has in their head.
Yeah.
So a lot of it, as I've been told, it comes down to a look, and I'm stuck. Yeah, I'm stuck in that age demographic between sort of 40 and 50. It's not stuck, but
oh yeah,
it's very specific.
There's a lot of people in your position, my position, that are doing self tapes, and they're doing it week in, week out, and the amount of time that goes and effort that goes into them, and obviously you're not being paid for it.
No,
I can't think of any other industry or job where that you have to do all that. I suppose you have to apply for jobs, don't you? But you have to apply for every job, don't you?
You do, yeah, and it's got to be done like you said, like an application form. You'd fill out an application form, but you wouldn't ordinarily fill out 3 or 4 applications in 1 week, I suppose. But you could, although I've not had it for a while, 4 or 5 self tapes in 1 week. I've not had that for some time. But it's also as well, Andy, it's trying to find someone to like operate the camera or maybe read in the sides. And I've relied on my children for a long time, but they don't like doing it, and I understand it. It's not their thing; it's my thing. There are ways that you can. Again, it's just something my friend Lee does up in near Ipswich, where he does it really well. I still can't fathom how to do it, where you can read in the sides of the other dialogue within your sides. I tend to try and get my son just to read in, so he does a good job. As long as I can react to it, that's what they look at, isn't it? Your reactions to the dialogue. But it's stuff like that you need to consider. Yeah, someone has to operate those side of things, and maybe the camera as well. Yeah.
I've actually found a technique that I've been using to do, because I had to do two or three self tapes in the last week, and I know we said that we might read for each other, but quite often they've got been really quick. You're working on, it's quite difficult to coordinate that. Yeah. What you can do is record your voice on a voice recorder, and then put it into an AI and change the sound, and then put it back onto your computer. Make sure you leave the gaps in, and there's your reader.
So you've lost me already, mate. I do need to. I think we all need to learn how to do that. Yeah, and it's something that's it's not lost to me. I'm fully aware and cognizant of the fact that I need to be more aware of how to do that sort of stuff. Because, like you said, I've not had a self tape for a little bit, but if you've got 2 or 3 on the fly, you're like, and you haven't got time. And I've got a full-time job, and I've got family commitments as well. It can be tough.
Yeah, I get that. So what would you say to somebody who was looking to get into acting? What sort of advice would you give them, would you say?
Research, lots of research. Like I did lots of research. There are lots of courses as well you can use. You don't have to go to drama school. You just don't need to. There's plenty of, I'm not saying the end result is going to be a famous actor, but there are famous actors out there who have never gone to drama school. And Russell Crowe's a classic example, isn't he? But they haven't gone to drama school. You don't need to. So don't get het up with the fact that you might be older, more mature, but you've got a job. How can you get into it? I would say find a local, if it is amateur dramatic society, find a local Amdram club or society or theatre group. theatre or film group to start with, and just go from there and start learning how to converse with other actors, how to converse with a director, a cast director, a writer, see what kind of thing they need, and go from there. I think that's the first port of call. That's what I did. That's how I started. And then just keep doing your research, keep reading. Knowledge is power, isn't it? You can never learn enough. There's lots of text out there. You know, whether you believe in method acting, whether you believe in the Stanislavski and the Sanford Meisner, all that sort of stuff, Stella Adler, that's up to you. That's everybody's different, aren't they? Like I say, I like to really sort of apply a real actor kind of sort of method behind it, because that's how I think action should be. It should be realistic. But yeah, just knowledge. Keep researching. Watch videos on YouTube. Watch. What I found helpful as well is watching some famous characters that have been on mainstream TV. That they have a lot of their self tapes, and see how they approach the self tape. You know, see what they did, and some of them, I think they're more famously, there was, I can't remember his character. My kid would tell you, because I like Stranger Things, but I don't know the character's details. And he had like a blue screen, and he jumped into his self tape, and he ended up doing 2 different types of characters. It was great to watch, and you can see how that would really sort of impact on a cast narrative, saying this is completely different. So if you think about it, a cast narrative might have 100, 150 tapes to watch. I'm sure they're all boring if they're all the same, but the one thing that stands out is that, oh, we like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say first off, mate, I would start looking at some amateur dramatics groups in your local area, and just go from there and see, get a feel for it, because I think stage is where people need to start, because it's where you enhance your skills on stage, isn't it? There's no prisons on stage. If you can master that, then you know you'll do well. The discipline is very, very specific, and there's not a lot of wiggle room, really, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say network and just get involved in some student films. If you're going to do some films, try and do film stuff. Get involved in that, just to get a sort of feel for being in front of camera. And
Facebook groups as well. There's lots out there, isn't there? Lots of Facebook groups. I mean, I met you via that, and you reached out, and I got in touch with you, and we met up. So yeah, Facebook groups here, student films. You could even apply. You can even speak to something like Falmouth Uni, kind of Falmouth is the film school down in Cornwall, and make contact there. But there are lots of people that could give you advice locally, isn't there, on Facebook? Southwest Actors, that sort of stuff, and there's different groups which I know both you and I interact with quite regularly.
Yeah, obviously that's where the networking comes in. But okay, mate, that's good advice. Thank you. Well, cool. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm going to hold it there for the moment.
Okay, mate.
Good to speak to you, as always.
You too, mate. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Hope it helps. Hope it helps anyone that thinks they're too old, not sure where to go. I hope it helps.
Oh, sure it does. You know, it's that's why it's
not impossible.
It's trying to listen to, you know, just get, it's part of the research, isn't it? Part of the research.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
good stuff.
So thanks very much for listening to Andy Blithe Talks and my guest Lee. And don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. And we'll see you on the next podcast. Bye for now.
Cheers, Andy. Ta-da.